What's up, YouTube? It's me again. I'm spitting videos out like no man's business right now, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. The video might go on for a little bit longer, but that's, understandable. I'm going to be doing an in-depth DDD discussion video, combined with my deck profile for DDD, my explanations on how the cards interact with each other, and hopefully after this video you can understand how to play, one of the more, well, potentially one of the most complicated decks ever put out by Konami. Now, pardon me, I've got a frog in my throat today. We're going to start with the main deck. But you know what? I think we're actually going to start with the extra deck. Because in order to explain the main deck better, we first need to talk about the extra deck monsters. Now, 2 copies of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh normally is the one that comes up late in your combo because when it's summoned, you can activate 2 pendulum scale DDD monsters from your deck in their pendulum zones with different names. Yeah, and this guy basically, he can summon monsters, DDD monsters out of your extra deck when he's destroyed by battle as well, which is really good. But this guy can access any 2 DDD pendulum scales with different names from your deck when summoned. But after you do this, you can't summon anything other than DDD monsters for the rest of the turn. So yeah, just bear that in mind. But this guy is really, really good at extending your combos, and you can. And essentially, what I've done is I've made more or less a completely only DDD monster extra deck. Well, there are a few exceptions here and there, but those are cards you want to summon before going into Gilgamesh. So we'll explain that shortly. Now, fusion monsters. Double Genghis. You need to play 2 of this because 2 level 6s to help you go into your rank 6, as well as the fact he's got a hard once per turn effect. If another DDD monster is special summoned to your field while you control Genghis, you can special summon a DD monster from your graveyard. Now, when talking about DD and DDD, the naming convention works a little bit strangely. So if the monster's effect specifies DDD in the name, you can only special summon a DDD monster back from the graveyard, right? However, if it says DD, only 2 Ds. I wish I had 2 Ds. Anyway, off topic. If it says 2 Ds, then you can summon a DD or a DDD monster. Just bear that in mind. So if it has 2 Ds that it can revive, like if it can revive a DD monster, you're essentially free to summon whatever you want, unless there's a level restriction on it. Then we go on to High Flame King Genghis. This guy can negate spell or trap cards in your turn only, so it can help negate sort of troublesome back row and things like that. Also, if another DD monster is normal or special summoned to your field while you control him, you can bring one back from your graveyard, just like little Genghis can as well. So that's something to bear in mind. And then to round off the fusions, we've got Beowulf and Diark. Beowulf's here just to give your monsters piercing damage and do some more damage on the board. And Diark is here to be a level 7, which can help you go into a better synchro play. And it also helps you because if you... Any effect damage that would inflict damage to you makes you gain the same life instead. So this guy can help you gain life points if you've got your contracts up, instead of having to pay for them. Onto the synchros, we've got 1 Little Alexander. So this is a synchro 7 and requires a DD tuner and 1-on-1 non-tuner monsters. Now, if we backtrack a little bit here, for the materials used for the fusion monsters, High Flame King Genghis just requires a level 5 or higher DD monster and a DD monster, and Genghis requires just 2 DD monsters, same with Diark. Now, Dragonbane King Beowulf has to require a DDD monster and a DD monster, so this guy's quite difficult to bring out, but as long as you've got the resources, you should be fine. And as for Alexander, if another DD monster is normal or special summoned to your field, you can bring back a level 4 or lower DD monster from your graveyard. So just bear that in mind. They also have additional effects, but speaking about them, with cards like Genghis, this guy can retrieve your contracts when sent to the graveyard. And, Alexander doesn't have one of those effects. And both of them are hard once per turn. You just got to alternate the effect and see what works for you best. You kind of got to build your combo as you go along with DDD. That's what makes it so challenging. People have made combos, but it can work out differently for everyone. And as for High King Alexander, this is a level 10. There's a reason why I play DD Ghost in the deck. Now, it gains 3,000 attack points while there are 3 DDD monsters on the field. And also, it carries the same resurrection effect as High King Genghis, which means normal or special summon a DD monster to your side of the field. You can bring one back from your graveyard. Alexander is really good for OTKing, especially if you have activated Ragnarok scale effect in turn, causing you to inflict half damage. This guy can still slam your opponent directly for 3k, even if you're only inflicting half damage at that point. So it's really, really quite cool. Last Synchro, Siegfried, you can bump this up to more than one if you want, but you don't really need to. It's got a hard once per turn effect to negate spell or traps and their effects until the end of the turn as a quick effect. Face up. As well as the fact that if it's destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can gain 1,000 life points for each Dark Contract card you control, which is cool. Now on to one non-DDD Synchro, 1 Meteor Burst. It's a Synchro level 7 that can bring out one of your scales from the Pendulum Zone and special summon it. So he can be quite useful in that regard. 1 Kali-Yuga. This is probably, for the DDD line, this is probably the best of the XYZ monsters, period. Because Kali-Yuga is just a complete, you know, card effects on the field can't even activate while you drop on the turn he's dropped. He has 2 detach effects, one of which can return one of your dead Dark Contracts. You can add it back to your hand, as well as the fact that his other effect, well, is Heavy Storm. So, yeah, really, really good. Sorry, he doesn't add the Dark Contract back to the hand. He sets it directly to the field. So, again, really useful. Now, here is one that not many people go with, but I'm playing it because it's a fantastic card. Wave High King Caesar's rank 6 requires 2 level 6 Fiend monsters, and when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, so sort of like Solemn Strike-ish effect. Quick effect, you can detach a material from him, negate the activation, and if you do destroy that card, then you can make one other DD monster and this card gain 1800 attack until the end of the turn. And if DDD High King Caesar is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add any Dark Contract card from your deck to the hand. So this guy, if you've got 2 Genghis out on the field, he's really worth the payoff. He really is. And then to wrap things up, we've got the One Hope Harbinger, is a rank 8 Xyz monster that can help you negate spells, and as well as a Lancelot, which can just omni-negate anything while he's on the field. He's just got a little bit less attack. Now, onto the main deck. So Kepler, we play 3 off because he's essentially the rotor of the deck. He can search your Dark Contracts, and the Dark Contracts can search anything else. Also, this guy can return also if Kepler's summoned, you can return a DD card or Dark Contract from your field to the hand, but you don't use that effect very often. You primarily use him for searching your Dark Contracts, which can be done on normal or special summon. Similar with Copernicus, on normal or special summon, he can send a DD or a Dark Contract card from your deck to the graveyard, which can have its applications there incredibly well once we talk about the monsters that can be applied in the graveyard. Carrying on with the scales, we've got Ragnarok. This guy's a bit of a wall of text, but I'm going to break him down for you just so you can understand. So while he's in the pendulum scale, if you special summon a DD monster or monsters except during the damage step, you can target any DD monster in your graveyard. Any battle damage your opponent takes for the rest of the turn's halved. You can special summon that monster from your graveyard, and then you take 1,000 damage. This is a hard once per turn effect. Now, his monster effect, while he's on the field, if he's normal or special summoned, you can target a DDD monster in your graveyard, special summon it. And this is a hard once per turn effect as well. And also, whilst Ragnarok's on the field, you contribute one other DD monster and then target a monster your opponent controls and banish it. This is a soft once per turn effect. So if you have more copies of Ragnarok out on the field, you can use both of their effects whilst they're face up. But the resurrection effect is a hard once per turn, meaning you can only use one of that effect per turn per copy, essentially. It's a bit of an interesting term to go with, but once you learn how how it works, then it's really easy. So hard once per turn is when a card text says you can only use this effect of named card once per turn, meaning once you do it, you can't repeat the effects with additional copies of Ragnarok, right? 3 copies of Thomas. While he's in scale, he essentially can add a face-up pendulum monster DD from your face-up extra deck back to the hand. And while he's on the field, you can pop a DD pendulum scale to summon a level 8 DDD monster from your deck and negate its effects, and it's done in defense position. Thomas is really good for bringing out your rank 8 plays. Leonidas is a one-off because it can special summon itself from your hand once you take effect damage, meaning you can combo him off with Ragnarok. You use his scale effect, you take 1,000, and then if Leonidas is in your hand, it's a free summon. So really good. His pendulum scale effect also can prevent you from taking effect damage, and I think it mitigates the cost as well, but you don't really need to worry about that. He's a scale 3 though, which is pretty cool. Now, the one Apocalypse. A lot of people that play DDD probably don't, understand why I'd play this, but the reason I'm playing it is because it's a level 7 that you can scale up with Gilgamesh, and he can summon himself from the scale by banishing 2 DD monsters in your graveyard, the ones that have already sort of had their usefulness. So that's why I'm playing him. He gets additional utility with Gilgamesh, and his monster effect is during your opponent's turn. If it's in your hand or graveyard, you can target 2 face-up spell or trap cards you control, destroy them, and you can't special summon a monster for the rest of this turn except fiend monsters, and then you get to special summon him. So yeah. Triple Lamia. She can summon herself from hand or graveyard by sending a Dark Contract or DD card from your hand or field to the graveyard, but then she gets banished afterwards. This is the level 1 tuner you normally want to be bringing back with your DD extra deck monsters like Genghis and Alexander, which I talked about before. Fantastic card. And one controversial Ghost. I play it because it's a level 2. It can get you into High King Alexander. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can get a DD monster in your graveyard and send another copy of that monster to the graveyard, and if Ghost is banished, you can return one of your banished DD monsters to the graveyard, meaning that if you've banished your Lamia and you have banished Ghost off of the effects of things like Necro Slime Typhon or Dark Contract with the Swamp King, you can return them back to the graveyard, which is really cool. Triple Swirl Slime. 2 effects. You can use him and his effect in hand to use him and another DD monster in your hand as fusion material to fusion summon a DD monster. And his graveyard effect is you can banish him to special summon a DD monster from your hand. So really good. This works really well in tandem with Necro Slime. These 2 cards together essentially give you a really nice combo, which brings out a couple of your fusion monsters. Necro Slime can banish itself and another DD monster in the graveyard to fusion summon that way. So yeah, pretty cool. Vice Typhon is essentially like another copy of Necro Slime, and it can be used to summon your bigger DDD monsters because of its higher level, like High King Genghis. It also has an ability that when normal summoned, you contribute a DD monster to special summon at level 7 exactly DDD monster from your deck. So yeah. So essentially, yeah, it's like another copy of Necro Slime. You can banish it from the graveyard, fusion summon. Now for the Dark Contract, we've got 3 gate. It's a continuous spell. With all Dark Contracts, you take 1,000 damage during each of your standby phases. But during your main phase, Contract with the Gate can search you any DD monster from your deck to your hand. Swamp King. Confusion summon a fiend monster from your extra deck using materials from your hand or field as material. But also, if you're going to fusion summon a DD monster, you can banish the materials from your graveyard as well as this. So really useful. Triple Allure, because we're playing the majority of dark monsters in this deck, and this is really good draw power. And now this can be anything you like, but I've chosen with 3 Cosmic Cyclone. It can be Imperms, it can be Ashes, Veilers, you name it. Because the deck's so tight for disruption, this slot is essentially your choice. Double Desires. This is additional draw power once you've gone through your combo. Really nice to have the extra cards in hand. And the 1-for-1 Foolish and the Monster Reborn. The 1-for-1 helps you get your cards like Kepler out and be able to use their effect, bait your opponent by special summoning them, as well as Foolish Burial being an additional dump and Monster Reborn being a free revive. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that explanation of DDD. I would do a sort of, how do I explain it, combo video, but we're already running at 15 minutes for this video, so it's already incredibly long. But I hope with this deck profile video and explanation, it's easier for you to know how to play this deck. And the interactions the cards have with each other. And I'm sure if you look at some combo videos online, you'll be able to see how exactly this plays out. Anyway, that's been Al from Exiles, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.